Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is Jonas Reports for the 8th of July. Well, we've been continuing this deleveraging move here now for the last couple of weeks from the Fed, and it's just resulted in mostly sideways action for the most part, relatively close to the highs, but also, even going back from, when we were looking at the depths of the decline here, and I kept telling that, I had a projection back down here in the 24s of us being near 4,000. And the alternative was you were going to be, 14, 1,500 if you're lucky. And that's simply because you can't fight the Fed. Plain and simple. So while we're not fighting the Fed, we're seeing that even with this rising shakeout and the improvements in the DOC, we're not getting a breakout move as of yet. We've started to see slight uptick in the red DOC, pretty much a flat line from the green. But we don't have any real strong short activity. You can see it's under the negative 1.54 here from a cyan. And certainly short-term buyers are just kind of like, a little bit on vacation, so to speak. From an NQ standpoint, though, huge difference, though. You see the strength is just dramatically improved. Do have the positive extremes, which means it's not unlikely that this full low is going to get retraced. Could happen even in an intraday situation at 10,308. But within that, it still looks fairly decent. So can't complain about that. The euro just going sideways because the world has basically gone on hold until someone can prove that they're either ahead of the curve or that the curve is changing as far as who's going to lead the economy coming out of the pandemic crisis. And likewise, oil just sideways here, up at this healthy level. Healthy is relative. I mean, there are a lot of companies that can't survive under it, but it's enough that some jobs are being kept, which is critical. And as we've seen some improvements from the U.S. side in certain areas. Gold, from its growth standpoint, it's just going to continue to ebb up. The real question is, when does inflation begin to kick in? And it probably would happen after a second stimulus or after there's a realization from people that the threat to the COVID, you see this massive jump in cases with ever-dropping mortality rates, and that's just lowering its effective threat, so to speak. But we won't know for another week or so about hospitalizations and whether or not that's going to lead to, because fatalities always are lagging by several weeks from the initial onset. So we'll see if it's losing its effectiveness or if it's just infecting people who are in an age group that don't tend to have a severe reaction. Now, intraday, wow, it's still so very exciting from an intraday standpoint. The ranges are terrific. This is pretty much squeezed down a little bit, but from our buy setups to the DOC spreads and the declines coming back, we just continue to explore each of these algo levels, hit a crosswind basis. I think I marked buy setup that took place there. We ended up then with peaking out right at the same 31.72. And actually it was interesting because you had a DOC spread with a reset, and you had a breakdown of the power mode too. Just didn't quite have a cross setup. Literally happened on the next bar right after this marker right here. But as it started to break down and continue, you ended up with your shakeout, and it finally, completely collapsed with the magenta line in that falling as well. And so that led to a much more precipitous decay in overall price, and pretty much brought us back to a fill of, and we'd have to squeeze all the way back to that original pop, which was right back over here. And while that was looking for somewhere around the 23 range, the other early portion of it was right around 31. And if we scroll all the way across, we can see that we dipped as low as 25. So within 2 points of the full fill of those positive extremes from just a couple of days ago. And then boom, right back above 3140, and that's where we currently are at this particular point. What we're also seeing right now is just a rebuild of the shakeout. Whether or not we break past this high is going to be an interesting one, kind of easing off right here, but we have an excellent move from the power 2 with the crossover. So from the signaling standpoint, certainly was a buy above the 3140. It was also a buy back over here, and that was around the 34 range. Because I remember I did jump in on that one, and again, this pre-market, these are still good moves. I mean, look at your 46 from a move to the low, the 25s, even from the 34, it's still over 12 plus points above where that original signal was, and then creates a new one. And you've got the falling Morganacci high, so we would expect that it's either going to pull it right to the 3154 or back down to the 40 at this particular point. And we're in a little bit of a soft spot, so we'll have to see how it plays, but it's still more bullish than not. As always, though, I will put up anything interesting on the Skype chat, but looking good. Trade well.